back to Yerushalmi Terumot. We are holding at Hey Base Amud Aleph. A big shout out to Torah Anytime, who hosts our shiur. Thank you very much. If you're watching through that channel, or through the YouTube channel, or the podcast, or Kol, please get in touch and tell us. ycdyerushalmi@gmail.com. Yerushalmi with an I at the end. Okay. Rav Huna b'Shem Rav Yirmiyah. So, we're continuing the view of Rav Meir about Truma, which is the suffix. It might be Tameh, it might not. Rav Huna b'Shem Rav Yirmiyah. Rav Meir Soyref. Rav Meir allows you to burn Truma Taluya b'Shayim Moshe Shana, not just there at Pesach, when there's a Chiyuv of Biur Chometz, but even the rest of the year. The hard tadi, but we've learned it at Brisa. Now this is about Biur of Trumas Chometz on the Erev Pesach, which falls on Shabbos. Truma Taluya, so Trumas Chometz, which is suffix Tameh, Utmeya, and Trumas Chometz, which is definitely Tameh, Surfing Osa, so we burn them on the Friday, which is the 13th. Erev Shabbos Simcha Shecha, close to dark, just before Shabbos comes in, Divrei Rav Meir. That's the view of Rav Meir. So remember, this is the 13th, there's no Issur yet, but you can't burn it on Shabbos, you have to burn it on the 13th, and he tells you burn it very close to dark. Divrei Rav Meir. The Chacham said you should do it in the normal time, that's the 14th of Nisan, in the Shachris. Right, they hold when the 14th of Nisan falls on Shabbos, you can leave the chometz till Shabbos, and whatever's left after the meal, you'll destroy it, not burning it obviously, but by breaking it to the wind or whatever. There's no malach of Shabbos. And here they're saying even trumas chometz taluya, you get rid of it Shabbos morning, like other chometz. Don't do it early on the Friday, even though you can't eat it, because it might come out as tahar, and therefore a Cohen can come along and eat it. So the Chacham say do it on the 14th, Bismana. And if Rav Meir allows you to burn Truma Taluya the rest of the year, then B'Yisrael, why does he say you can burn it Trumas Chometz only B'Shabbos? Why not do it in the morning of Erev Shabbos? Why does he allow it only close to dark at the end of the day of the Friday? Must be he forbids you to burn Truma Taluya the rest of the year. He only allows you when you have to do it, when you've got no choice. You have to do Biur Chometz. So if one answers Tiftar, we can explain the Bryce is talking about Keshenis Atzel. He was lazy. Below, sorry if he didn't do it earlier. But you're right, if he wanted to, he could do it earlier. I'll bring a proof to this. It's a Nina. We've learned in the Bryce that Rav Meir mentioned the burning of Truma Tameh, which is definitely Tameh, which of course you can burn it whenever. But the Bryce doesn't mention you can burn it Shachris in the morning. It says, Rav Meir says, even that is burned later on in the day. Now, Truma, which is definitely Tameh, why later on in the day? What's the big deal? But surely isn't it clear that Tumah B'Shnisat said it must be talking about someone who was lazy, but sorry, he didn't do it earlier on, and now it's getting late. He's the last minute to do it. So it's just like Truma Tameh. We're talking about this situation. So Truma Taluya is talking about this situation. Minadin, you can burn the Truma Tameh earlier on as well, in the morning, the day before. If you know it's Tameh, you burn it. And similarly, you can burn the Truma Taluya earlier on. As soon as you find out it's a suffix, which way you can burn it. Rabbi Mori said, Achoy, Rabbi Yossi, brother Rabbi Yossi, Tifta, we could explain the Brisa, Shadnai Rabla, Tuma, where the Tuma, the definite situation of Tuma comes about, with this Trumas Chometz, and any suffix Tuma of Taluya, but Aisashon, maybe it only happened later on in the day. You didn't burn it in the morning, there's no problem with it in the morning. But you can't learn anything from the Brisa about the view of Rav Meir. You can't learn, Rav Meir forbids you to burn Truma Taluya. Could be he allows you to burn it, like Rav Huna and Rav Yirmiyah. But the Brisa says you burn it in Truma Taluya later on in the day. It's talking about where the Tumah only came about later on in the day. Now, until now, we want to discuss if the second case of our Mishnah, where Rabbi Shua, remember the second case in our Mishnah? Rabbi Shua allows you to defile the wine to stop it coming into your chulin, right? Remember that? Now we said, is that the view only of Rav Meir? And Rabbi Yossi, however, held Rabbi Shua didn't allow it? Or maybe Rabbi Yossi agrees to this din. So we're going to ask if there's another Tana. Rabbi Yechon, Rabbi Yeshua in the last part of our Mishnah, and Rav Shimon. We're going to quote Rav Shimon now from Bechores. Shnei Amru Davar Echad, they both said the same thing. Now, Rav Shimon, let me tell you what it says in Bechores. Rav Shimon says over there, if you have a Bechor, firstborn kosher animal, which is going to be a carbon, right? But then it's ill and it's got too much blood. So you want to bloodlet it to heal it. Now, for the sake of the bloodletting, you have to make a hole in a place where it can make a blemish which puzzles it from being a carbon. Now, usually you can't put a blemish on korbanos. And Rabbi Yochanan's reason is because the reason usually you can't do it, but Rabbi Yochanan's, since anyway this thing's going to die if you don't do it, the bloodletting, there's no problem of making a blemish, because otherwise it will die anyway. And this is like the view of Rabbi Yeshua, the din of the chavis. The wine's coming down, the wine's anyway going to get ruined, so there's no chiyuv of guarding it, and you can defile it with your hands. So the same thing there, you can do a blemish, because anyway the animal's going to die. Okay? And then, Rabbi Ila, Rabbi Ila said, Rav Shimon the Bechayres, the Rav Shimon brought that Mishnah Bechayres and Yeshua the Trumas, are not the same. No, they're not the same. It could be Yeshua allows you to do a blemish, because this illness of too much blood, which is going to kill the animal, is a blemish in itself. It already has a blemish. So Rav Shimon says there's no problem making a new blemish. It already has one. But the truma which is falling into the chulin is still tar. Maybe Rav Shimon will forbid you to defile it by receiving it in tamei vessels. So you can't compare the cases. And it could be a Bishua allows you with a truma which is going to become tamei to stop a financial loss. But maybe this firstborn animal, this bachar, Rabbi Shua will forbid you to make a blemish because there's no big financial loss over here. So who says the two opinions hold the same thing of each other? So Rav Zira said, Mr. It makes more sense to say Rabbi Shimon, Maida Rabbi Shua. Rabbi Shimon does agree with Rabbi Shua, you can be matami the wine, but Rabbi Shua like Maida Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shua will not agree you can make a blemish in this animal. Okay? So he wants to say. He said this Rav Zira, he says, look, Rabbi Shua is lenient with the truma because of hefsed. So b'chor, with the blood, he won't allow you to do a blemish. There's no loss, there's no financial loss there. But this Rav Zira argues on what it should be Rav Ila. What Rav Ila said, it could be Rav Shimon allows you to do a blemish because this animal is already considered blemish. So you can put a blemish on a blemished animal. But maybe that's not the reason. Maybe Rav Shimon still allows a blemish. No issa the carbon. Anyway, the animal's going to die. So maybe that's the reason. So that's the whole thing. Does Rav Shua agree to Rav Shimon? Rav Shimon agreed to Rav Shua.
When the tomb
is about to fall.
And then it was going to be matama.
Yeah, and it's going to get ruined.
The tomb was anyway going to be ruined.
I know.
So
this animal is also anyway going to die.
So what's the difference?
Yeah. So the difference is one is financial loss and one isn't. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why we say you might not agree to it.
You're not chayshes of Mava Hektish.
No. The financial loss. So if the chulin gets ruined, that's a big loss. Okay. Rabbi Bonbach here, by Rav Zira, he asked, according to you, the tema that you say, Rav Shimon, my yoda le Rav Shua, that Rav Shimon agrees to be sure that you can be matami the wine, but Tanina, we've learned in Psachim, Moedi Rav Lezer Bishua, they agree, Shasarfin Zu le'asma, remember the Trumas Chametz, which is tahar, you have to burn it, but Bezu le'asma, burn them separately. Don't burn them together, not to defile the truma which is tahar. You have to burn it, it's nearly Pesach, and it's chametz, but burn them separately. And Rabbi Yochanan said, the Mishnah is the view of Rav Shimon, how he understood the argument of Rav Lezer and Rav Yeshua. So you see, Rav Shimon forbids you to burn trumas chametz, tahar, together with tamei, on Erev Pesach. According to what you're saying now in Rav Shimon, in Bechoros, he should allow you to burn truma tahara with truma tamei on Erev Pesach. And now you're telling me if Shimon allows you to make a blemish on this animal for bloodletting, it's anyway going to get ruined. And even if there's no financial loss, right? So definitely he should allow you to burn truma tahara, which is anyway going to get ruined, to stop the chulin, or the wine shouldn't be ruined. So we should allow you to burn truma tahara with tamei on Erev Pesach. The truma tahara is anyway going to get ruined. It's Pesach coming, right? So therefore, he should definitely allow you, even though there's no chulin, no financial loss. Ramalei said, Tamar, with trumas chametz on Erev Pesach, you're right, it's going to be burnt in the end. But meanwhile, tahara, at the moment, is still tahar, devar Torah, according to the Torah view. Right, chametz in the 6th hour is still tahar. It's not chametz yet. It's only rabbinically forbidden. Right? The Torah prohibition starts later. Therefore, at that time, it's truma ba'ainahi. The truma is still here. It's still here completely in its complete existence. Nothing's happened to it that we should consider it oh, it's already lost. It's not lost. It's not destroyed. It's still fine. Minat Torah, you can still eat it. And it's no obligation or bill. But you, the Chachamim, you came along and said, oh, you have to burn everything in the 6th hour, right? You, Chachamim, said, oh, you have to burn it. Yeah, we have to listen to you. And the Truma is going to be destroyed anyway. But it's not a case that there's already a problem here. Therefore, Shimon says, do not defile. I repeat, do not defile Trumas Chometz Tahar in the 6th hour. As opposed to the Bechor animal, it's going to die because of his illness. And the wine that's spilled is going to get ruined, falling into the Chulin. So something's already happened. It's considered already lost. You understand? The motion is already in motion that is considered lost. Therefore, if Shimon allows you to put a blemish on the animal and to defile the wine of the Terumot which is falling. Mikol Mokon. Nevertheless, it's all very well. It's only a rabbinical problem stopping me, and I have to burn it only rabbinical. Minat Torah, it's fine. But we still have a question. Because Lo Nisala Behesach Hadas is Minat Torah. Surely is it not possible? Now, when you've got Truma, which is Tahar. But wait a minute, are you going to eat it now? It's the 6th hour. You can't eat it now. With Rabbanon, you can't eat it now. So, are you going to still keep it secure? Or have you given up on it now? Are you going to still monitor its Tara status? He says, wait a minute, Lo Nisala, surely it's possible, Behesach Hadas, because you've taken your mind away from it. When the 6th hour comes, and it's rabbinically forbidden, you don't guard it anymore to guard in a state of impurity. You don't care. Like in Rabbi Yochanan, you say, Hesach Hadas, when you take your mind off it, Devar Torah. The Torah says if you take your mind off it, we treat it Safek Tameh, like proper Terumot Daf, even though we've no reason to suspect anything. We treat it as if it's Tameh Safek because you've taken your mind off it.
Why? Because you wouldn't eat Chometz over Pesach?
Yeah, you're not going to eat it now.
Even after Pesach?
No, it's Truma, it's Chometz.
But after Pesach, Chometz over Pesach?
No, you're not going to eat that. You're not going to eat that. So you're definitely not going to eat this. So you've taken it out of your mind. You're not guarding it. So even though it's only a rabbinical prohibition, but you've done a Torah distraction now because you're not going to go near it and you're not going to guard it, and that forbids it from the Torah. Therefore, according to Shimon, although Truma, which is Torah near Pesach in the 6th hour, you're right, it should be only Safek, Truma, Tameh. You've taken your mind from it, but he holds Truma Talur can be burnt straight away, and even other times when there's no Chiyuv Biur Chometz. So Truma Tahara in the 6th hour, it needs burning Minat Torah, not because of Biur Chometz, because any Truma Talur, any Truma you've taken your mind of, it needs burning. And since the din is to burn it from the Torah, now it's considered destroyed from the Torah, and therefore you should be able to defile it with your hands. Chavish Shneah, just like the second case of our Mishnah Rameya, according to Rameya in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, Torah, it will be permitted from the Torah to defile the Truma which is falling. It's going to be destroyed because now it's considered destroyed. And just like you can put a blemish on an animal of Achizas Dam where it's got too much blood, Kruv Shimon, like Rav Shimon, its Torah should be a Torah din because it's ill and it's going to kill it anyway if you don't do a refuah. And this is its destruction from the Torah. So just like Rishon allows you to defile the wine which is pouring in, and Rishon allows you to put a blemish on the animal, because Minat Torah is considered this thing is already here, this destruction is already here. So Rishon should allow you to be metame with your hands, Trumas Chometz Tahar on Erev Pesach in the 6th hour, by burning it together with Tameh, because even Trumas Tahar in the 6th hour needs burning, because you've taken your mind off it. And yet Rishon forbids you to burn Trumas Tahara together with Tameh in the 6th hour. And that goes against what you said. So Amalei, so he answered back to Rabbi Bachia, he said, Trumas Chometz is not possible with Hesach Hadas. Shuhu Meshamra, you will still guard it, even in the 6th hour. But you're going to burn it. Why would I guard it in the 6th hour? He says, you know why you'll guard it? You don't need to touch other foods which are not Chometz. You don't need to defile other foods which are not Chometz, right? So you're still watching it. So Trumas Chometz Tahar doesn't need burning Minat Torah in the 6th hour, only Midrabanan. And that's why it's not considered its time of destruction, and therefore Rav Shimon does not yet allow you to burn it together with Trumas Chometz, which is Tameh. Rav Hizra asked the son of Rav Chia Gadol, and he says, he said, wait a minute, I don't understand. What are you going to tell me? Imagine this Trumas Chometz Tahira is the Sunnah Gabe Kecholim. It's ready on the coals to burn it. Are you going to tell me I can't put next to it Trumas Chometz Tamea. It shouldn't defile it. I mean, it's already on the coals, right? I mean, in this situation, you definitely take your mind away. You're not guarding it anymore. And therefore, it's possible in our Torah because of Hesach Hadas. And based on what you've said in Rav Shimon, it should be permitted to burn it with Tamei stuff. Because it needs burning min Torah, because you've taken your mind away. And now is its time of destruction. So why does he say you still have to burn them separately? So he answers, he said, after you put the truma on the coals to burn it, you're right. At that moment, you can put truma tamea there as well. You've taken your mind away, and then you can. Rav Shimon never forbade it only to put truma tahora and tamea on the coals in one go. So he never forbade it in one go. 1 second. He only forbade it when you haven't taken your mind away from guarding it. Right? That's what he's saying here. He says here in the Lashon, in the wording, the explanation, Rav Shimon didn't forbid only to leave the truma tahora and tamea on the coals in one go, when you've not yet taken your mind away. Oh, in one go. Anyway. Alright, very good. Now we discussed Rav Shimon. He allows you to put a blemish on this animal, which is going to die, and you want to heal it. And Rav Shimon, now whether Rav Shimon agrees to be sure, allows you to defile the wine of truma which is pouring. Now, you say, Yodit Rav Shimon, Rav Yeshua. Rav Shimon would agree to be sure you can defile the truma wine which is falling. And Rebbe Bachia asks, if Rav Shimon agrees you can defile it with your hands, which is going to be destroyed, this truma, why does he forbid you to burn on Erev Pesach truma tahora with tameh? And he wants to prove that Rav Shimon argues with Rav Yeshua and forbids you to be metameh, be a dying truma which is going to be destroyed. Now, why are they discussing Rabbi Shimon? He says, I fear Rabbi Yeshua, in Rabbi Yeshua himself there's a problem about wine which is spilt. Lest he, how does that fit in with what Rabbi Yeshua said with burning Trumas Chametz on Erev Pesach? Because he allows you to defile the Truma wine, and in Psachim he forbids you to burn Trumas Chametz tar together with Tameah. He says, Moed Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yeshua, they agree, you have to burn them separately. Right? So then, Rabbi Bachia, why did he ask Kujim Zira, there's a stira even in Rav Shimon? Why did he ask that? You have a contradiction even in Rabbi Yeshua as well. So he allows you to defile the truma falling down, and yet he says you have to burn the two things separately on Erev Pesach. So he answers Tanaim. There are two different Tanaim. There are two versions of Rabbi Yeshua. Tamar in Trumas, like Zam Mishnah, is Rameir b'Shem Rabbi Yeshua, is Rameir's version of Rabbi Yeshua, whereas Bram Hacha in the bit in the Mishnah Psachim is Rav Shimon's version of Rabbi Yeshua. Right, according to him, Rabbi Yeshua forbids you to burn Trumas Chametz tar on Erev Pesach together with Tameah. He also forbids you to be metameh the wine of Truma, which is going to be ruined. After Rav Zeira said Rav Shimon, who allows the animal blemishes in order to heal it, he holds like Rav Shimon, you can be metameh with your hands, the Truma is going to be destroyed. Then Rabbi Buddha asked if that's the case, there's a contradiction in Rav Shimon, because he didn't allow to burn the two Trumas together, etc. So that's what he wants to say. There's two Tanaim's versions of Rav Yeshua. Okay, back to a new piece now. So we said if you got a suffix on something, Rabbi Gamliel said don't change anything. So we said Rabbi Lezer says you have to guard it, and therefore it was in a bad place to put it in, a safety place. Rabbi Yeshua said the opposite. You can leave it in an unguarded place. Rabbi Gamliel said leave it as it is. So we have three opinions in our Mishnah, and we have three opinions in Bechoros with this animal as well, with the bloodletting. So Taman Tanina, we've learned the animal that's got all this blood. Afilu mace, even though it's going to die if you don't do it, you can't do any bloodletting because you'll make a blemish. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, that's Rabbi Yehuda's view. They said you can do bloodletting, and even though provided you mustn't do a blemish, if you did a blemish, don't start slaughtering this bachar relying on this blemish. So don't rely on that blemish to slaughter it. Rav Shimon, he said, Yakiz, you can do the bloodletting, even if you do a blemish there. So there's three opinions. So we're going to say now, Rabbi Laza asked Rabbi Yehuda from Gamliel. The view of Rabbi Yehuda is like Rabbi Gamliel. The view of Rabbi Yehuda, he forbids you to do any bloodletting completely, even if there's no blemish, even though it's going to die. That's like Rabbi Gamliel. Leave Truma as it is, even though it's going to get lost. But Rabbana, the view of the Chachamim, that you mustn't say the Bechor through bloodletting where you're making a blemish, but you're allowed in a place where you don't make a blemish, that is Rabbi Lezer. That's like Rabbi Lezer who forbids you to cause definite truma to suffix truma. He said leave it in a guarded place. You shouldn't get definite truma. But Rav Shimon, and the view of Rav Shimon, who allows you to do bloodletting even if you are making a blemish, that is Rabbi Yeshua, like Rabbi Yeshua, who allows you to take the truma from a guarded place to an unguarded place, to cause definite truma to come about. Now the Mishnah B'Choros, which we brought, Rav Shimon allows you bloodletting even though you're making a blemish. But he agrees to the Chachamim that we brought that you shouldn't slaughter it based on that blemish. Right? Don't slaughter it. He says here, you can do the bloodletting, even though you do a blemish. He never said slaughter it relying on that blemish. It's not enough to just go ahead and slaughter it and forget it being a korban. No. He's arguing the Chachamim. He allows you to do the bloodletting, and even though it makes a blemish, but you can't slaughter it relying on that blemish. Okay? We've learned, we brought a brisa, which brings the view of Rav Shimon slightly differently. We tani learn from Rav Shimon, Yakis, you can do the bloodletting, even though you intend to do a blemish to allow the shechita. And what's the machlokes brisa in the Mishnah? This, what we said the name of Shimon in this brisa, is like something else in the name of Yeshua. I brought him Sachim and into Sefta, which Rav Shimon said the name of Yeshua. That this fits in that you are allowed to defile truma tluya with your hands, just like Rav Shimon holds over there. Yeshua allows you to defile with your hands truma tluya if it's not fitting for its purpose, and it's going to be destroyed anyway. So also, Rav Shimon allows you to make a mum on this animal which is going to die, even though your intention is to allow it for shechita. You hear that? So that fits in like this opinion that just like you can be metame truma tluya, you can make this blemish in order to shecht it if this animal is going to die anyway. Okay. Right. Very good. Now we have learnt, according to Yehuda, the animal with bloodletting, you cannot do bloodletting to heal it, whether it's a blemish and allowed for shechita, or if you'll heal it without doing a blemish, so it should be fitting for a korban. So where's the source of this? The reason, the source from the pasuk of Rabbi Yehuda, who forbids you to bloodlet, even if you're not doing a blemish. If it says with the bechor, which has got a balmum, rak es dabai loitechel, do not eat its blood. Ala aris tishbechenu kamayim, spill it like water. Loitati lecha, I'd only allowed you to bloodlet as dabai, the blood of the bechor, to eat it when the blood is there and you can't eat it without it. And only ela l'shovcham. All you have to do is take the blood of the bechor like water and spill it. The blood should go like the pouring of water. If there's no takana for bechor to allow you to shecht and to eat the flesh through this bloodletting without doing a blemish, and not like chulin through the bloodletting in order to make a blemish. Let's see this again. It says the source from the pasuk, which doesn't want you, right, so it doesn't allow you to do bloodletting, right, even if there's no blemish. It says, so I didn't allow you to do bloodletting, to eat. No, you just have to pour the blood away. That's it. There's no takana here to allow you to eat this meat. He asked, the brother of Yosi, now kodshim, which have a blemish, and they are apostle for the Mizbeach, and then they are redeemed. You can see it says there, a similar phrase. Rak hadam loitechel, you don't have the blood. And on the ground it's spilled like water. Right? This is with kodshim which has been redeemed, right? So now, if you're telling me tells me that the blood of the bechor is spilt away because you can't do a blemish and there's no other takana, what are you going to say with these words now with apostle kodshim which have been redeemed? Now here the bloodletting is permitted. They are chulin, right? Apostle kodshim which has been redeemed is chulin. And there's no issur to make a blemish. It must be this phrase with Psula Mikdashim is not telling you there's no solution with bloodletting. It's permitted to do bloodletting. It must be telling me something else. If that's the case with bechor, we shouldn't say, it's telling you there's no takana. No, maybe it's for some other reason this drashim, because it makes no sense. With chulin, it can't tell me you can't do bloodletting on chulin. It can't tell me that. He says when it says on kamayim, it's lehachsher tamat. It's telling you a din of hachsher, that food becomes susceptible to receive tumah. Ma'amayim machshirin, just like water can make things susceptible. Al-dam, so also blood of kotrim, machshir can make things susceptible to receive tumah. Right? And if had this been written with the b'chor where there's blood, it's coming to tell me there's no takana through bloodletting. One second. Lehachsher tamat. Yeah. Ma'amayim machshirin, avdam machshir. That's what it's telling you. Okay, there's a totally different deal about hafshara, whether it's susceptible to receive Torah. Right? Okay. So that's when it comes to this parasha, right, with the chulin, which is redeemed, the kodshim, which is redeemed, that's what it's telling me. However, when it comes to the animal, which has got blood, then it's telling me there's no solution. Right? Now the Gemara brings an opinion of an Amoira, which learns the source from a pasuk, from the view of Rav Shimon and the Chachamim. They both allow you to do bloodletting for b'chor, but they argue if you can do it even in a place where you make a blemish or not. Rav Abavo b'shem Rav Yochanan. They both look at one pasuk. Now it says with Shlamim, Tamim yeh l'ratzah. It'll be perfect, it'll be acceptable, kol mum lo yeba. There should be no blemish. You're not allowed to put a blemish in a korban. Rav Shimon learns the connection of Tamim yeh l'ratzah, right? Every blemish mustn't be there. B'shah shuhu l'ratzah. When the animal is fitting to bring a korban, when it's perfect, einat v'shaylitin by mum, you can't put a blemish. B'shah she'eina l'ratzah, when it can't be brought, it's already got a blemish then, or he's got this blood illness, then that's a blemish, then after v'shaylitin by mum, you can put an additional blemish. But Chacham said no, it says any blemish should not be there. Afilu kulay mum, it is full of blemishes, you cannot make any more. You can't put another blemish if there's, it doesn't matter how many they are. Now, we learned in our Mishnah, Chavis, a barrel of truma which got broken, Shanishbra Begas in the top vat, and the bottom one is Tameh. The rest of Shimon agree, if you can save a revius in the state of Tara, you try and save it. And if not, Rabbi Lezer says just let it go down and become Tameh, but don't you defile it with your hands. Like a vessel where the inner side is tahor, but acharav tamei, and the outside is tamei. Ein matamin by dava mamut, afilu lahasil by dava maruba. So you cannot save inside this keli even a lot of truma, which is going to be spilled and going to waste if you don't receive it. Don't use this keli to save this truma. You hear that? What is it? The inside is tahor, but the outside is tamei. Don't use that keli to pick up your spilt truma. Why? Because you might be metame, some of the truma will touch the outside of it. And even though you're saving a big amount of truma from being ruined, and there's only a chashash it will touch the outside, it's still forbidden.
So you say you're coming with some of it, are you dying?
Yeah, I mean, although it's not your intention here, you want to catch up the truma for the sake of using it from the inside, which is tar. But you might touch the side, that's the problem. We've learned, Rabbi Lezer says, you should leave truma, tear it, let it go down into the bottom vat, and don't you defile it in your hands. It sounds like you can't do an action which will definitely defile the truma, receiving it in a vessel which is tameh. But it sounds like you can catch it in a way where it might happen that it becomes tameh. That's not with your hands. Tifta, we can explain the case. B'shnei kelim, a case where you have two vessels you can use to pick up the spilt truma. One, the inside's fine, the outside is tameh. One, the inside's fine, then the outside is also fine. So you've got a choice. You can use a completely tar vessel, or one where the outside is tameh. Then it's best to use the one which is completely tar. Okay, right. Me'adim masnisa. Now, that which we learnt, what's mashma in the Mishnah? It says, don't you defile it with your hands. If you don't do it with your hands, it's okay. If there's one vessel which is tameh, basically the outside is tameh, the inside is tar, you've got no other way to use elsewhere. Since there's no opportunity to save only with a vessel where the outside is tameh, then you're allowed to save it. It's not definite that it will touch the outside. So if you only have one, then you can use it. Amrabala. Now another answer to the question of Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah. Amrabala. Tifta, we can explain the dinner of Yisro Hanina, but boy, is in a vat. The bottom vat is tahor. There's chulin which is tahor. You want to stop the truma falling into the chulin. You don't want it to be chulin meduma, which is tahor. You have to treat it as truma. If truma falls into chulin, which is tahor, you have to treat it as truma, right? In this situation, the truma is not going to become tameh. So why should you receive it in a vessel where the outside is tameh? Don't receive it in a vessel where the outside is tameh. Let it fall in, it's going to stay tahor. Because the truma is not going to come to any loss. Therefore, there's no heter to do an action to cause truma to some of it, because it might touch the outside. So don't use a tahor vessel if it's tameh on the outside, but if it goes in, it will stay tahor as well, because the chulin is all tahor. Ma'adamas nisa, that which is mashma in the Mishnah, it says, don't you defile it with your hand. If you don't mean the tameh the truma with your hand, it's permitted. That's talking about a case boy, where the bottom vat is tameh. That's chulin which is tameh. And the truma is falling in, it's going to get ruined, as we've understood all along. And on this, Rabbi Leser says, don't you defile it with your hand, which is medoyak. You're allowed to receive it in a vessel which is inside tahor, outside tameh. You can receive it in that sort of vessel, because you're not doing a maisa. If you don't do an action to save this truma, where's it going to go? Straight into the chulin at the bottom. So it's better to receive it in a vessel where the outside is tameh. Even though some of it might become tameh by touching the outside, it's better to go into that, bring it to a suffix that some of it might become tameh, rather than letting the whole thing fall down and the whole thing will become tameh. When we learned in our Mishnah, with a barrel of oil, of truma which got spilt, Rabbi Lezer says, you know what? Teretitibala, let it just go on the ground. Don't you do anything in your hand to start gathering it with a tameh vessel. Now here, the oil is not going to become tameh. Now it sounds like you can't be tameh with your dayim. Don't swallow it with your hand. You can receive it with a vessel where the outside is tameh, even though that might again cause tumah to some of the oil. It sounds like you can use a tameh vessel on the outside to receive this oil. Tifta, we're talking about a case. The barrel's gone into a field where there's a grave. A field with a grave. The field is tameh gezerah drabanan, rabbinical tameh. Yeah, the barrel got spilt there. The oil is falling onto the ground. It's going to be tameh. On this situation, Rabbi Lezer said, you cannot be metameh the oil with your hands by receiving it in a vessel where the inside is tameh. Right? Look at this. You cannot be metameh the oil by receiving it in a vessel where the inside is tameh. You're allowed to save it in a vessel where the inside is tahor and the outside is tameh. Even though some tumah might cause to some of the oil on the outside, because without you receiving it, the whole thing is going to be tameh, right? The ground is all tameh here. It's Eretz Ha'amim, whatever it is, it's a field with a grave. So if you don't stop that oil, it's going to be all forbidden. Okay. Right, how are we doing? It's a long sugya, Rabbi. It's a long sugya. Right. Now, after the Mishnah brought the words of Rabbi Lezer, cases of barrel of truma, which was uncovered, a barrel of truma and the oil of truma, which was spilt, the Mishnah finished off on this and on this. Rabbi Yeshua said, this is not the truma that I have to be careful for. The lashon on this and this and this, it sounds like there's two cases. Rabbi Yeshua holds there's no chiyuv guarding on the truma, and you're allowed to be metameh with your hands. So which two cases is he talking about? According to the Bnei Yeshiva, they said the first case, where Rabbi Yeshua allows you to cause truma to loya, but not with your hands, that's according to Rabbi Yossi in the view of Rabbi Yeshua. And the second case, where Rabbi Yeshua allows you to defile it with your hands, or the oil of truma which is falling, that's according to Rabbi Meir's view of Rabbi Yeshua. So we can explain, if there's two different opinions, the two cases, then we can say on this and on this, which Rabbi Yeshua said, is talking about chavis v'shona. The first case of chavis, that's the truma taloya, the chavis shashniya. And the second case of chavis, that's the case of a barrel of wine or oil which got spilt. But according to Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yeshua holds whether it's truma taloya or truma which has been spilt, and it's going to be tameh anyway, it's going to be absorbed in the ground anyway, then you don't have to worry about defiling it, and you are permitted in all cases to be metameh it, even be yadayim, right, even with your hands. So he's saying, when it says this and this, according to the Chaverim, it's like the first case is one version of Yeshua, and the second case is Rameir's version of Rabbi Yeshua. Okay? Al-Da'ated Rabbi Yossi, according to the view of Rabbi Yossi Bar Zavida, who he said, Rameir and Rabbi Yossi agree that according to Yeshua you can't defile it with your hands. And you can be with Tameh, the truma which is spilled where there's a big loss, then you have to say the wording on this and on this, which Yeshua says is cases of chavis shel yain, so it's basically the second case, but we split the second case into two. A barrel of wine of truma which got spilled, and chavis shel shemen, a barrel of oil of truma which got spilled. In these situations, Rabbi Yeshua will hold there's no chiyuv shmir on the truma, you can be defiling it with your hands, whereas truma teloya, which is the first case, you cannot be metameh with your hands. Okay, so according to his view, on this is the second Mishnah, the second bava, the second case, but we split it into two, one with a barrel of wine, a barrel of oil. Now, if Chaim asks for a group of women to be given over to them, and if they don't get them, they will defile the lot. They ask for one. If they don't get them, they'll defile the lot, then we defile the lot, we won't give one over. Loim Sabra, it's not logical, the din is, im kvar tameh. Maybe if one of the women was already tameh, already been with someone be'isur, if one of them was already tameh, then it makes sense to give her over to the guy to save the other women from becoming forbidden. And similarly, Loim Sabra, it's not logical to say that im hoisa shivcha, if one was a shivcha kananis. In this situation, you're allowed to give over to the nachrim the shivcha kananis to save the rest from becoming tameh. Now the Gemara brings a din which is similar to our Mishnah. Tani we've learned. Siyais, groups of people, b'nei adam, shay mahachim b'derech, they're going on the way. But Pagol and Guy, the guy meet them, they said, so we want to give us one, we will kill him. And if not, we'll kill the lot. If they're all killed, so they should not give one over. But if the guy if they singled out one of them, Guy, like the story of Sheva ben Bichri, Sheva ben Bichri ruled, he rebelled rather against Dovid HaMelech. Dovid sent Yoav and his men to run after him and to kill him. He ran into a city, Ovel, to find a place of refuge. The men of Yoav besieged the city. Yoav asked the people to give over Sheva ben Bichri, and if not, he will kill the lot of them. So in that case, Yimsur said they should give him over, but they shouldn't all be killed. And this heter to give someone for killing, when the Goyim are miyached, they want to kill that person, providing he should be worthy of the death of the killing, that he should be killed. He was rebelling against Dovid HaMelech, right? It means a case like that, there's a reason to kill the guy. Rav Yochanan says, no, even if he doesn't deserve killing. No, even that, they've singled him out, they can give him over. The government wanted him for justice and judged him to be killed. He ran away. Lelud. He ran to Rav Levi. The men of the army made a siege round the town. They said to the people in the city, if you don't give us, will destroy the city. Rav Levi went, and he appeased him to agree this person to be given over to the Malchus, so he shouldn't kill the whole city. And then he gave him over to the soldiers. Would frequently appear to Rav Levi, and he didn't come anymore after this story. He never went to him again. That some Rav Levi fasted, come and say when he fasted, and then Eliyahu came to him. Eliyahu says, after you did, I stopped coming to you. He says, the people who hand people over to the guy, I'm going to appear to them. Rav Levi said to Eliyahu, didn't I follow the dinner to Sefta, which we brought? If they single out someone, then you're allowed to, and if not, they'll kill the whole town. He says, Zu Mishnas Chasidim, although it's mitzvah in Hadin, like the Brisa says, but it's not fitting with someone who follows Chasidus like you. Even though it's permitted Hadin, you should not have done it. Some say, Eliyahu's tiring, he shouldn't have hurried to give him over. Should have waited to the last possible moment. Not to give him until the soldiers start coming, literally destroying the town. And to try in every way to be Mavatal Gzeira without giving him over. Okay. Rabbi Isi, Itzid. Rabbi Isi was captured through robbers, in Safsufa. A person who dies, you should wrap him up in his own sheet. So leave Rabbi Isi in captivity, and no one else has to go and try and save him. Let Rabbi Yochanan say, let him stay there. Just like you make tachrichin from mace from his own sheet, we don't tear other people's sheets to make tachrichin. So other people shouldn't go into sakana to save him. He should stay on his own in the sakana which he finds himself. Said, before I kill those capturers Rabbi Yisi, or I'll be killed through them if I go and fight. I'm going to give myself over and I'll go and try and appease them to free him before with all my might, whatever it is. He went and appeased them to free Rabbi. They gave him without anything. He didn't need to fight. Then Rav Shimon said to them, and now let's come to the elder, to the Chacham, our Chacham, which was Rav Yochanan. He will pray for you for the chesed that you did, that you freed Rabbi. They came to Rav Yochanan. He says, what was in your heart to do for Rabbi? Will come to that nation. So for you, the Maisa, what's he doing? He's cursing them. Right? So what's happening here? They let him daven for them. Then they come to him, Rabbi Yochanan. He says, what was in your heart to do to Rabbi will now reach that people. So I think he's cursing, he's cursing they should die. When the people go back. He's talking about who? The nations, I think, no? The guy. It went as far as that place, they all died. So the klal of Rabbi Yochanan came about. Just want to see here. Right. It seems the capturers of Ravisi said they were doing things right. They were guarding the life of Ravisi. They're looking after him. Rabbi Yochanan knew their real ideas. So basically he's cursing them. He is cursing these capturers. That's what he's doing, yeah? So in other words, if you just go back a bit, so the capturers gave Rav Isi back. Then Avalan, Rav Shimon Lachu said to the capturers, let's go to a Chacham, Rabbi Yochanan. He will pray for you for the chesed that you freed Rav Isi. You get that? So he's taking the capturers, let's go to Rabbi Yochanan. They come to Rabbi Yochanan. He said, whatever you wanted to do to him, then it will come on them. And basically, and his curse worked, and they all died. The capturers died. Ze'ir ba'achinna itzid b'safsufa. Ze'ir ba'achinna was captured in Safsufa. Sorry, Ravimi, Rav Shmuel, Rav Faisal, they went to appease for him. Armalah Zanavia, Malkasa, the queen Zanavia said, she was the queen of the listing, Yalafu baraicha in avad l'chai nisim. Since your creator always does miracles, ma'ashikin bey, you look at your strength too much. You trust too much that now he'll do a miracle that it will be free. But it's not going to happen. Meanwhile, one Arab Yishmael merchant came. He's carrying a sword. He said to them, with this sword, Barnitza, who was another listing, killed the brother of Zanavia. Queen Zanavia was a bit shocked when he heard about her brother being killed. And meanwhile, he was saved. Was saved. He managed to run away when the queen was in a bit of shock. Another story that Rish Lakish was not afraid to go to the listing to save things from them. Rav Yochanan, Ikapach Bale Kanya. He had the people. His money was stolen through the listing who were called the Bale Kanya tribe. After this happened, Sadik the Beis Vada, he went to the Beis Medrash. Rav Shimon ben Lakish asked him halacha. He didn't answer. Lakish asked him again. He didn't answer. Amalei said, "No, Hachim, what's going on? You're not answering. Why are you so sad?" Amalei says, all the person's limbs are to do with the heart, which is the source of the chiyas of a person. The heart follows the money, the wallet. Since I'm very sad, he's lost all his money, he doesn't have a clear mind. Amalei says, "Mao came. What happened to your money?" Amalei says, they took my money. Amalei says, "Chamili zavisa. Show me where they hide things." Navak Machbele, Rabbi Yochanan went out and showed him. Chamisa min Rachik, who's it again? Amalek, goes one. Amalek, Rishon says, Chaminis Avisa, yeah, show me the place of the hiding. Navak Machbele, Rabbi Yochanan went out and showed him. Chamisa min Rachik, he showed him the He sees them, Rishon sees them from afar, he starts laughing at them. Amalek, he said, in Rabbi Yochanan, if this is Rabbi Yochanan, we stole from him, Yisav Palga. You know what? He can take back half of what we stole. Amalek Mishloki said, Chayechan, no. Kula Nanasiv. The whole thing I'm going to take back. Nanasiv Kula, and he took all the money back, which they'd stolen from Rabbi Yochanan. Diklat Chazira, the Diklat, who was the shepherd of the swine. Mechonye Telaye Rabbi Nasiya. The Talmidim were the young Talmidim of Rabbi Nasi were hitting him when he went for the base medrash in Tiberia. The young Talmidim of Rabbi Nasi were hitting him. This story is brought in Bereshit Rabbah. It happened with Rebbe and his Talmidim. Some say Rabbi Nasi. Some say Rabbi Nasi, which is called Rebbe. Others say Diklat was at the end a king, and he was called Decliatishan. Decliatishan, was that his name? He was a Caesar, Decliatinus, who ruled from 4044 to 4065. 284 to 305 after the Common Era. That wasn't in Rebbe's time, it was 50 years after Rebbe died. Okay, so what we got here? It's Avid Melech. In the end he became a king, and he wants to do vengeance on the Jewish people who had hit him. Now Hasle Pamias, he comes to the town Pamias, which is far from Tveria. Shalach Kesavim Basaraban, he sends letters to the Chachamim. Teven Gavim Keshuv Zamiyad. I want you to be here Motzi Shabbos. Amalel Shluchei, and he told his shliach who carried the letter, don't give them the letter, Ela Baruvta Imat Mai Shimsha. Give the letter Friday close to sunset. So they won't be able to get there at the Pamias at the fixed time. And then you can say they're rebelling against the king. And sure enough, the messenger came on the Friday close to sunset. At this time, Rav Yehuda Nesiah and Shulchan Nachman are going to wash in the bathhouse of the hot springs of Tiberia. After the shliach gives them the letter, they go to the bathhouse. Asan Gitris Gabahoin, a demon called Gitris comes. He's a demon. You find him in the bathhouse. But Rav Yehuda Nesiah and Zinzafbe. Rav Yehuda Nasi wants to rebel him and send him away. Amalei Shmuel Bar Nachman, he says to Rav Yehuda Nasi, Rebbe, Apele, leave him. Lenisin u'mischamei. Sometimes he comes as a shliach of Hashem to do miracles, and now you'll see what's going to happen as well. Amalei. So the demon asked him, Ma Rabbanan Avdin, what are you doing, Chachamim? Why are you here in pain? Tanu le'uvda. They told him the story of what happened. Amalei, and he says, Sechud, wash yourself for common Shabbos, don't worry. The Barayach and Avid Nisin, your creator, does miracles. But Mivkesh of Zalmasi Shabbos came along. Ta'in Yasain Ba'al Yasain. The demon took them and brought them to the gate of the palace of the king in Pavias. Arile, the servants of the king said, Haraban Leva, the Chachamim are outside. But the king said to his servants, Lo Yachmon Apai, the king, they shouldn't see my face, Adin and Sachyan. They shouldn't see my face until they wash in the bathhouse. Havahi Beit Bani, there was a bathhouse there. As Yeshava Yomin, Veshava Leilavan. They put the fuel following the king's command, 7 days, 7 nights, non-stop heat, so that no one could take that heat, so that when the Chachamim go in, it'll be too hard for them, and the boiling of water. No fact, the demon went and cooled the water down before the Chachamim. And after that, they stand before the palace of the king, they stand before him, the king sees that Hashem has done miracles to save them, and he says, begin! Your creator does miracles for you. You allow yourselves to ridicule the king. They said, we ridiculed the Diklite who was a swine shepherd. But the emperor Dikletition, we definitely did not ridicule. Although the king understood that he can't do bad to the Chachamim and revenge them, because Hashem does miracles to save them, he is telling them, I feel okay. Even so, that was only a shepherd. Lo mechase. Do not be abusive. Lo barome zeir, lo bechava zeir. Not the young Romans, and not the nation of the Chabas that call this when they're young. Because one day they may be a king and they may want to do justice back. Hadron alach ha'isha sha'isa, hadron alach ha'isha sha'isa.